Okay, so this is the assessment process. We always start the lymph work at the collarbones. The reason that we do that is we are working with lowest pressure point to highest pressure point. So your lymph all drains down into the heart, which means the lowest point of pressure is the collarbone area where those last lymph nodes actually, your heart's on this, the left side, where the lymph drains off on there. So whatever you're doing for lymph, we start at the collarbones. So for purposes of assessment, we're just pressing in, so pressing above the collarbone and then below the collarbone. You don't need to spend a lot of time doing these points, but you're just noticing, does anything feel puffy? Does anything feel tight? Does anything feel tender? That's what we're always kind of assessing for. Then after the collarbones, we're going to go up the neck. So from behind the ear, so where the bone comes down and the jaw comes up, from that point there, on each side, you're just going to make your way down the neck and just notice, again, you're looking tenderness, puffiness, tightness, tension, anything like that. Under the jaw, so from the chin, it might be useful to do one side at a time. I'm just going through these quite quickly for you. So just, again, noticing every single tooth has a lymph drainage point. So if you've ever had an abscess or root canal treatment or anything like that, there could be something there. Then from the jaw along the cheekbone. So again, just lightly pressing in. Now this assessment in itself can be a treatment. So after you've done this assessment, don't go on to do any of the other techniques. Wait and see how you respond to this assessment. This assessment might be enough for you for today, and you don't need to do this again. Maybe review it in a couple of months, but just so you know that the assessment is a treatment. So after you've done it under the cheek, your smile line or your fall line, which is these lines here down either side of the nose. So again, you're just pressing in, noticing if there's any right down to the chin. Pinch your cheeks as well. And notice, is there a difference from one side to the other? Sometimes there can be. Then we're going up to the temples. So from the cheekbone up the sides of the eye. So there's a huge lymph nodes just in at the sides here and at the back. And when I pressed there, it was really, really tender the first time I did this. It's gradually easing off because I'm doing this every day. But that there's a lot of blood flow goes up into the brain, and when the brain, through the night, the brain's draining excess fluid and toxins out and down, and it comes through this point. So if this point is tight, you wake up in the morning, you've got foggy heads, you're probably blocked in through the temple. Check across the forehead as well. And then go around the head and down the back of the skull. So all you're doing, you're still just noticing points that feel a little bit tender, a little bit tight. Could be useful for you to write these down. Could be, might not be. Totally up to you. Then from there, this area where the shoulder joins into the chest, where your pec muscle comes up into the shoulder, we're feeling around here, loads of lymph glands in this area here. So again, you're pressing in, noticing any tenderness coming across the chest and towards the centre and then out to the other side. Again, just noticing, you feel anything there, loads of lymph glands across the top of the chest here. And even if you've had lymph glands removed for any reason, they grow back apparently. Not as efficient as they were the first time round, but they do grow back apparently. And I'm saying apparently because I haven't seen this happen. I only just found that out last week. So once you've done that, we're then going to the armpit and into the side of the chest, so into the side of the breast tissue or the pec. So you're feeling in around there. Again, we're just looking for tenderness, puffiness, any sensation at all that you may or may not feel. And then doing the same thing on the other side. Sometimes you can feel really tender and tight in the lats, which just sit to the side of the breast tissue here. So it's worth kind of noticing and around that area if you can reach out like a bird like I am, awesome. If not, use one hand and go down the lat and then do the same thing on the other side. So just moving a little bit further down. So once we've done that, at where the elbow joins on the inside, below the elbow joint and above the elbow joint, you've got lymph glands there. So feel one and notice how that feels, and then feel above it. A lot of people have in this above one really tender and they don't know it until they start pressing on it. So just again, notice, is that tight? Is it not tight? How does it feel? Off to the other side. So start below, so on the lower arm, just below the elbow joint on the inside. So you can see, can't see my hand there, my thumb's in underneath. And then check that one up above. Notice how that feels. Then we're going to the sternum. So quite a lot of people that have got back pain, it's actually tension and stiff and congested lymph in the sternum. So fingers just in and then side to side down the sternum. Now, for ladies, this quite often is easier to do lying down because the breast tissue then falls out the way and you can get into the sternum all the way down. And you've got a bra on, it's not the easiest thing to get to. So just notice then we're going between the ribs. So your ribs come into the sternum, kind of like this. We're looking for these spaces in between. So from the collarbone, underneath there, and then just noticing all the way down. Again, this is a bit easier to do lying on your back because you can get in, but you'll be aware, really tender on my right side there. Notice. Then we're going to go down, midline, down to the navel. So again, just using the fingers and just doing side to side here and noticing how that feels. When you get to your navel, I'm just going to sit up a wee bit here. When you get to the navel, we're not going into the navel, we're going around the navel. So starting just above it, do a little circular motion, so a couple of circles in each direction, and then move round. So you're only pressing in as firm as feels useful. If you feel really tender, press hard. If you feel a not tender, then press in a wee bit deeper. Don't just skim the surface to see, oh, there's nothing there. If you're not feeling anything at the surface, press in a little bit more. Once we've gone around the navel, we're going to the groin. So where your leg folds, we're going in here. Loads of lymph nodes in here, really congested. And if you sit for a lot of the day, those are definitely going to be congested. So we're just feeling in around there, noticing is there any tender points, any puffiness, anything at all there. Then from here, in your inner thigh, there's a big tendon that comes in and joins into your groin. There's loads of lymph nodes around there. I've got one thumb over it, one thumb under. Again, tender point for me. And then do the same thing on the other side. And one side, like everything, one side might feel different to the other. And then after there, we're going to the back of the knee. So I'm going to do this standing up. You'll lose my head. So at the back of the knee, where your knee creases, just have a feel in there, see how that feels. Loads of lymph glands in there. So we will just want to check. And then we're going to the inside ankle bone. So let me take my sock off. So inside the ankle bone, feeling around. So there is lymph glands in around the bottom, having a feel, but feel all the way around it. And just be aware. And I actually feel around the outside as well, because there is some lymph glands there that's just useful. And quite often this little area under here, excuse me, under here, can get a little bit puffy in some people. So just have a wee check how that feels in around the Achilles as well, because those lymph glands come up this way. And then the same thing on the other side. So around that inside part, if you get tenderness and puffiness in around the ankle bone, quite often that can cause SI joint problems. So if you have SI joint problems, checking in around here can be super useful. Reflexology talks about that as well. I'm not just making it up. and then have a wee feel about Achilles tendon. So that is the assessment. Well, it takes a few minutes to do. You don't need to do it that often. It can be useful if you come for a treatment. I can do that as part of your treatment to see where you're at and take notes myself. But yeah, you can do it. And if, as I said at the start, if you get any kind of experience from it, I'm not going to call it good or bad, but if you get that energy rush, something's happened. If you get complete fatigue, hangover feeling, exhaustion, headachy, that means something's happening as well. Either way, drink lots of fluids, anything in between, drink lots of fluids, make sure it flushes out. Don't go on to do any of the other treatments today. Make that the only thing that you do today, because as I said, this is a treatment as well as an assessment. Any questions?